Welcome back, folks. This is JE Live, and we haven't done one of these without a game attached to them in a long time. So I'm glad to be back. We got some news, so we'll be talking about that. I'll give you my thoughts. I'll answer your questions, all that jazz. But appreciate you guys being in here on a Friday, 4:18 p.m. Eastern time. That's 1:18 p.m. Rams time. Um, Very busy week. And we got some news that Cam Akers, the starting running back for the LA Rams, is not going to play this weekend. Now, okay, there are a lot of stuff to speculate here. I have to say, before I get into any of that, I know there's a lot of people out there that have seen my comments about Akers, have seen that I believe Henderson's the better back, and I made a video, very comprehensive, took 30 hours to make video on why Henderson's the better back. But I'm going to start off this episode of JE Live letting you guys know one thing. It's very important. I don't root against anybody on the Rams. So, regardless what comes of this, I'm not victory lapping this. I hope Cam Akers is okay. I know Sean McVay is saying he's okay, but everything with Todd Gurley, I don't know. In a perfect world, here's how I see it, okay? Darrell Henderson's the better running back. He should be starting. But I want Akers on this team. Let's not make it out to be something that it isn't. I want Akers on this team. I like Akers. He's the second best backup running back in the league behind Kareem Hunt. So it's one of those things, man. You just hope he's okay because if it's something like mental, where he's just mentally not there, it's really it's depression. I feel for him. I do. I don't know what it is. They haven't really specified. It's a personal issue. That's all we know. Personal issue. I've been looking at, and that's all we have, is that it's a personal issue that he will not play this Sunday. So I hope everything is okay. I hope he didn't lose a loved one. I hope everything is good. But in reality, this could mean something big. This could mean that a trade is looming. This could mean a trade is already done. This could mean that they talked to Akers. It is not really clear. There are some interesting things going on. Sean McVay, working through some different stuff is the way he said it. So there's a lot to this. Now, the Rams just signed a long snapper to their practice squad. Those are the transactions they made today. So that's not really what you're expecting at this point. You would probably expect them picking up a running back based on the fact that Akers is out for Sunday. Just, because you need some depth. Jake Funk got picked up by the Saints. So this is really odd. It really is. I haven't seen anything like this. McVay characterizes this as an internal issue with Akers, who he says is physically okay. We're dealing with some things internally. He is going to be okay. So I do not think, and Jordan Rodriguez says, Sean McVay says Cam Akers won't be here today, was out yesterday, listed as personal, and out Sunday. McVay says team is working through the situation, and he also declined to say whether he believes Akers will be a part of the team in the future working through some things. So there's a lot of layers here, and Jordan asking this question and asking the right questions is why we even have this. So I got to give a shout out to her because this is actual investigative journalism and not just copying, pasting, what you got out of the fax machine, not just copying and pasting what you read on Twitter. This is actual investigative journalism because she's basically asking. She didn't waste any time. She asked about his future. She asked whether or not he will be a part of the team in the future. That is a smart question to ask because we don't know. We don't know. We don't know what this is going to entail. So very interesting stuff to come out of Rams camp, or Rams, whatever you want to call it. Darrell Henderson is next man up, and pretty much he is the starter. He just doesn't run the ball, right? He catches the ball, he blocks. He had 0, carries last week on the stat sheet. He had 1 carry that was wiped away by a penalty. But, I mean, for the most part, it's Darrell Henderson and Malcolm Brown now. So it does open up the door to they make a potential trade. Now, I see a lot of people in the comments section saying CMC. I could go through every single one of these guys, and I can give you my pros and cons. The pro is that Christian McCaffrey with the Sean McVay offense could be like having Todd Gurley in 2017 and 18. The negative and the con is that Christian McCaffrey is a walking injury. He's always hurt. Always hurt. So are you going to give up long-term assets for a guy that's literally always hurt? I don't know. I personally wouldn't. Okay, next up, Antonio Gibson. The pros, this guy has catching ability, very good receiver, former receiver turned running back. He's got good vision. He can run with power. He can punch in the end zone. He's got a nose for the football, nose for the end zone. The con, don't you kind of already have his type with Darrell Henderson? I mean, who's another one? David Montgomery. I think David Montgomery probably makes the most sense because whether David Montgomery fantasy owners or Bears want to admit it or not, the fact is Khalil Herbert is the best running back in Chicago right now. It's not even an argument. Khalil Herbert is the best running back for the Chicago Bears right now. He should be starting. There's no excuse as to why he's not starting. And so, I think you look at Montgomery, I don't know how much it would be. I don't know if it would be a swap. Probably not. Montgomery was a 1,000-yard rusher. So, Akers and a pick for Montgomery is potential. I think David Montgomery would complement the backfield well because you look at Darrell Henderson and Kyren Williams, 2 guys that are very similar, cut from the same cloth. Joe, you're putting words in my head. I never said that he's already Hendo. That is not what I said. Anyway, they're cut from the same cloth, Henderson and Kyren. So, I would say this, okay? Both cut from the same cloth, and I think if you get a guy like Montgomery who could come in there, run with power, at the bigger back, then I think they'd complement each other well. So I actually like David Montgomery as an option. If the Bears trade him, they're 2-4. They're not a good football team. I know the 2 wins got people excited for them. They're not a good football team. They're not good. They have a solid defense. Justin Fields is he's going to take a little bit to get going. He is not there yet. I'm not done with him, but he's not there yet. You could see a Montgomery Quinn package. I would not rule that out. Kyren should be back after the bye at some point. I don't think right after the bye, but I think shortly after the bye. Another guy that I'll mention, okay? The Raiders are probably one of the best 1-4 football teams, or whatever the hell they are, in the league, okay? Or in league history. They're very talented. They're a good team. The record does not indicate how good they are. I think they've been poorly coached, but they're very talented. And one guy that comes to mind, they draft Zamir White, and I'm thinking, Josh Jacobs. Josh Jacobs and Darrell Henderson both came out of the 2019 draft class. I had Darrell Henderson as my RB1. I had Josh Jacobs as my RB2. Even though I'm an Alabama fan, and I like Alabama, and Josh Jacobs is awesome, I thought Darrell Henderson was the better back. Now imagine if you could have both of them in the backfield. Now all of a sudden, you say maybe you trade Cam Akers and a pick for Josh Jacobs. We saw what Jacobs can do the last 2 weeks. I don't know, man. Jacobs and Henderson would be a really nice tandem. And the reason I keep saying Henderson is because we don't know about Kyren. He's not a guarantee. We like him, but he has not played a down at running back in the NFL. He got hurt, so we have to wait. I think a lot of people are just assuming that Henderson is gone after the year. I would not assume that because I'll tell you right now, there are a lot of free agent running backs next year that are very good, and Henderson will be affordable. So Wouldn't assume he's out the door after the season. I don't think Akers makes it through this rookie deal with the Rams. I don't. I think they're going to trade him. There's just something here tells me that. I don't know. But, I think if you're looking at running back, the Rams are going to roll with who they have right now in Henderson and Brown. They'll probably sign somebody, to the practice squad, elevate them on game day, as backup. Or they'll roll with 2 running backs and just say our backup running back is Brandon Powell. I wouldn't mind that either. I think, Kyron Williams will be back soon. Maybe you don't, But I would have to say that would be a huge misusage by the Rams. I like Malcolm Brown. I like the reuniting of him. I don't think Malcolm Brown is a needle mover at all. I could say that if Darrell Henderson gets 20 carries this weekend, he's going over 100 yards, and people will be like, wait, but the offensive line isn't good. How did Henderson do this? But if you watch, Henderson, he's a good back. He's not elite, but he's good. So I saw something earlier. I think, what was it in the comments section? I didn't see the presser. I only read what Jordan put out. So if he affirmed it, okay, but I didn't read that, so I'm going based off what I read. I don't have time to watch every presser. I really don't. I watch some of them, but I really do not have enough time. I got to create content. So, unfortunately I do miss those. That is interesting. I will say I have my OBJ 3 jersey. I have my Akers 23. It looks like, that the film doesn't lie. Akers hasn't been playing well behind our bad O-line. Plus, McVay and Cohen have been making subtle negative comments throughout the season about Akers. It's a wrap. No, you're right, Ian. You're absolutely right. Tape doesn't lie, and the tape is not in Akers' favor right now. I can tell you that. That's right. They do have Ronnie Rivers. Okay. Yeah, that'll be an easy one. Ronnie Rivers will come up for game day as an extra guy. They'll elevate him, and that'll be that. So yeah, I don't expect him to do anything too big like this week, but we could see. I wouldn't rule out anything with the Rams. They start losing games, like if they lose this game to the Carolina Panthers, they could be trading starters. They could trade Ashawn Robinson. They could trade, somebody. I wouldn't rule it out. Yeah, we haven't done one this month. I've been so busy. So many different opportunities have come across my my door. I don't know how to word that, but they've come into play, and so I have not been able to keep up with it. I want to do a couple of them this week. The MCU show I might cancel outright. It's just at this point I just don't have time for it. And, the opportunities are a blessing, so I'm not complaining. But yeah, I definitely definitely want to do it again, obviously. They do pay me, so, I do want to get call-in going again. Yeah, exactly. It could be an off-the-field issue. I wouldn't rule that out. Not saying I think Akers has character concerns, but, who knows, We don't really know. I just hope he's okay. Well, linebackers is that's a macro way of putting it. Because linebackers would, basically you mean that you're combining inside and outside. I'd say outside linebackers, they got a guy by the name of Dominique Robinson, who I wanted the Rams to draft, who's having a pretty solid year, who could probably just fill right in for Quinn. That's the thing. I don't know about Cam Akers' trade value because it's not like he's done a whole lot. You know what I mean? Like, he had a good 2020 to end the season, but he wasn't great. Henderson outplayed him in 2020. So at that point, you're arguing that as great as he was at the end of the year, he's never been the best back on his own team. So I don't know what the value is. I mean, maybe you look at the Lions. Look, with Swift banged up, Jamal Williams is an injury away, and then you have Craig Reynolds, and that's it. Maybe you trade Akers to the Lions. I don't know. I think the Colts are an option with everything going on with Hines. I think that'd be a fit. The Bears, if they traded, Montgomery. No, I don't think Akers is bad. I don't. I want Akers to stay a Ram. I just don't think Akers is a starter at this point in time. Not over Henderson, anyway. So, Oh, no way. No way are you getting DeAndre Swift for Cam Akers. Well, here's what I'll say. Akers lost his lateral agility after that torn Achilles. And so did Todd Gurley. And the Rams in 2019 kind of failed Todd Gurley because what we saw, what they did with Sony Michel last year, knowing that this guy doesn't have the lateral agility because he has the same Todd Gurley knee injury, the arthritic knee, they, with Sony Michel, they ran the 12 and 13 personnel grouping. So they had an extra offensive lineman, they had 2 tight ends, and they went out of their way. They're like, all right, Sony, run in between the tackles. Let's see you do your thing. And it worked for him. Plus, he had extra blocking. But Todd Gurley in 2019, they had him running the outside zone. He was never, he didn't change. So 2017 and 2018, Todd Gurley was explosive, had that lateral agility, and it worked out well for him. But when you're running that same offense with the lesser, athletic guy because of the injuries and the lateral agility is gone, that's why Gurley fell off, but Gurley could have been what we saw with Sony Michel last year. The Rams just refused to change up their team. They refused to change up their whole thing. So, there's that. But Henderson should be starting on every fantasy team. If he's the guy, I wouldn't rule out the Rams because they have not known how to use him by playing Malcolm Brown, but I really can't imagine them doing that. I wouldn't be surprised, but I really have to imagine they're going to give Darrell Henderson his run because they should. He's the best running back on the team. It's his time to shine. Give him 20 touches, not 20 carries. Although I'd like 20 carries, but you got to give Hendo 20 touches. There's no reason why Henderson can't be used like a poor man's Alvin Kamara. Remember when Kamara was getting 15 carries and 10 receptions? Use him like that. Why would you not? Because he's got all the ability. By the way, I want to point out something. So on the broadcast, and I've seen it already regurgitated around the comments section, and I'm going to stomp and debunk it right now. Okay, last week, Darrell Henderson caught a pass, and the announcers, who I like, by the way, Olsen and Burkhart, I like them, I think they do a great job, were wrong. They said during the broadcast that Henderson had all sorts of room in front of him and ran into defenders. That is not true. Okay, he gets the ball, he catches it, there's a guy on his right, there's a guy on his left, and there's a guy in the center. So he didn't have all that room. He was swarmed. And then I see people on Twitter saying, see, Henderson just runs into guys. No, he doesn't. So that one thing that you were going off, to discredit Henderson, and not you guys, but in general, and they're like, yeah, he ran into guys. No, he didn't. There were 3 guys swarming him, and he still got positive yards. So I want to see Henderson get an opportunity this week, a real opportunity. Wheel routes, all that. I want to see the whole 9. There's no reason not to. You know, I'm over this. Oh, like, no. I don't even want to be in this game. I want this game to be a blowout. I don't think it's going to be. I think it's going to be a 24-20 win over the Panthers. And I'll do previews, later on. But I got to tell you, I really think that, I think Henderson is the guy. And if like I said, I hope Cam Akers is okay. I'm not rooting against Cam Akers. But I want the better back there. And that is Henderson. And now he has an opportunity. So now, there's no excuse, Rams coaching staff. If you are listening to this at any point, there's no excuse. Use the better running back. He leads in every single metric. More than Malcolm. More than Akers. He's better on tape. There's no excuse for Darrell Henderson not to be starting and not to be getting 20 touches in this game. None whatsoever. Henderson? No, he's not. Henderson doesn't run into the back of any of his blockers. That's Akers. Unless you're replying to somebody else. That's so random. That's really random. I hope he's okay, like I said. Because he doesn't fit the offense. Oh, I got you, Ted. I just wanted to make sure. All right. I've like, believe it or not, I know you wouldn't do that, but there are people out there that watched my video of Henderson and came away with Henderson being the one that was running into the backs of people. I don't know. Don't you have like 90 running backs? You just cut Marlon Mack. Marlon Mack and Cam Akers are very similar. That's true. See, I think that's too much because I don't think Malcolm Brown offers that much, to be honest with you. I like him. Don't get me wrong. I like him, but I don't think he offers that. He's going to have to spell Henderson at times, but they shouldn't give him 5 to 10 carries. They should give him like maybe 3. I wouldn't trade for CMC. Maybe the Browns. Maybe it's Kareem Hunt and a pick. I wouldn't really be for that, but I could see it. Henderson does have hawk vision at times. Really feels that way. Yeah, exactly. Well, but here's the thing, though, okay? The O-line wasn't good at FSU, and Cam Akers made it happen. The O-line wasn't good in the Bills game, and Darrell Henderson still found holes. And the O-line is still blocking. It's just Akers he didn't hit the hole. Like, he missed the hole. It was not just, and that's another thing, it wasn't just hate from me. It was reposted and posted by like sport books. Like, this is what's happening with Cam Akers right now. He's missing, like, it looks like, Trent Richardson. He was, but you have to understand, Sony Michel doesn't fit the offense at all. They had to run 12 and 13 personnel to get him going. He could not run laterally, so they couldn't run their wide zone runs. So basically, they were running an offense that wasn't theirs, and then when they were passing, they were running a completely different, like, everything was different. But they're running with 6 offensive linemen. They're running 13 personnel. Like, the Rams don't run 13 personnel. That's not the thing. But in order to get him going, they had to. So, that's why he didn't play in the Super Bowl. What you saw in the Super Bowl was the Rams getting Darrell Henderson back, which everyone seems to forget that, Sony Michel didn't beat out Henderson for the gig. Sony Michel was healthy and Darrell Henderson got hurt. Darrell Henderson was the starter. And for a guy that, has constantly said that he's not very good, he's a backup. I mean, he's got like 15 touchdowns in his first 3 years in the league. Not even full 3 years. Let's see, what does Darrell Henderson have? I got to check out the stats. He's got 15 touchdowns since 2019. So, I mean, I don't know. I don't know, man. Nope, I'm with you. I don't want to trade for CMC either. I don't think you need to trade for a running back. You don't need a superstar running back. What you need is pass rush. What you need is the offensive line to actually build some continuity and get healthy. That's what you need right now. And I think there's a lot of truth to what Sean McVay said. A lot of the stuff is miscommunication. Now, that doesn't explain why they're starting Cologne and they're starting Bobby Evans this week. But I do think that that's an upside thing, because when you look at last week, a lot of those they tried stunts and they were doing all different ways to get, Micah Parsons and DeMarcus Lawrence as a free runner at the quarterback. That's not overpowering. That's just the Rams not having the mental fortitude on their offensive line. So they got to fix that. The protections have to be there. You have to call the protections the right way. I don't think Cologne has experience with that. We'll see. They're probably working on it this week with him. We'll see if he builds up. But, that was a big reason. So I think the offensive line isn't really as bad as it looked. I think it can be improved, but the protections need to be set better and quicker. But you're not going to, there's no offensive lineman that you can really just acquire. And you have to also, what value does Cam Akers possess right now? This is what I was thinking. If you're the Chiefs, okay, and the Rams say, we'll trade you Cam Akers, do you even want him? I don't mean that as a dig at him. I mean, who would you take over Cam? Would you take Ronald Jones over Cam Akers when he gets healthy? I'd take Ronald Jones. Would you take Isaiah Pacheco or I'd take Isaiah Pacheco right now? Clyde Edwards-Helaire? I'm taking Clyde Edwards-Helaire. See what I'm saying? Jerick McKinnon? I'm probably taking Jerick McKinnon. So it's one of those things where it's what is his value? He's a big name, but the Browns. Are you taking him or Kareem Hunt? Are you taking him or Nick Chubb? Are you taking him or Jerome Ford? Are you taking him or Dearness Johnson? I'm taking Cam Akers over Dearness Johnson. I'd probably take Jerome Ford over Cam Akers. He's got better vision. Patriots. Are you taking him or Ramondre Stevenson? That's where I think could be interesting. The Patriots could be a fit. The problem is Bill Belichick is he'll put you in the doghouse if you fumble. So there might be something there, but I don't know. I mean, looking at it, Seattle would be an option if they were cutting him, but the Rams aren't trading him to the Seattle Seahawks. With Rashad Penny out, they probably make the most sense. But Damian Harris is out for the Patriots, so it's Ramondre Stevenson. I believe Kevin Harris is somewhere in there, Pierre Strong. Patriots somewhat makes sense. Dolphins, I don't even know what to make of that back. I don't like that backfield. Mostert, he's solid. Chase Edmonds, solid. They don't have a number one guy, maybe. Akers might be an interesting one. Yeah, I don't know. Patriots, Dolphins. I mean, would you trade him to the Bills? Is he better than Devin Singletary? I don't think so. I'll take him over Zach Moss. I'll take him over James Cook. As of right now, James Cook long term I'd take. Then you look, AFC North, Ravens. Gus Edwards will be back. I like him a lot. J.K. Dobbins. Are you taking him over any of those guys? Okay, Steelers, Najee Harris. Steelers would actually be interesting. Because if he was a backup to Najee Harris, that's an upgrade over, God, what's his name? Benny Snell? He'd be an upgrade over Benny Snell. He'd be an upgrade over Jalen Warren. Browns, I already mentioned. Bengals, upgrade over Samaje Perine? Absolutely. I could see Cam on the Bengals. Colts, I could see, because Nyheim Hines. Jaguars, I don't know how there's any fit there. James Robinson and Travis Etienne, I don't see it. Then you look, Houston. I mean, I think that Dameon Pierce is the guy, but they continue to try out Rex Burkhead, so, I mean, I'll take Cam Akers 8,000 times over Rex Burkhead. And then the Titans back up to Derrick Henry is possible, but they really like Hilliard, Dontrell Hilliard. So I don't know. Maybe Houston, maybe as a backup. Then at that point, who do you have left in the AFC? You have the AFC West. Chargers. You want to put them on the same team as Sony Michel and Austin Eckler, and I don't see that happening because Joshua Kelly had a good game. I think it was last week. So, yeah, I don't see that happening. Chiefs I already talked about. The Broncos, there's an interesting one. You got Mike Boone, very underrated, has a career yards per carry average over 5. You have Mike Boone. Then you have Melvin Gordon, and Javonte Williams is out. Melvin Gordon hasn't played all that well. Maybe you go to, Cam Akers. Denver's interesting. The Raiders are interesting. We want Cam Akers because we get another year with him. We don't want Josh Jacobs because we're not going to pay him. You get a pick and, you get rid of Josh Jacobs, you get a pick and you get Cam Akers. You hope you can get something out of him. It's an option. I don't know. It's interesting in the AFC. The NFC, I mean, the Eagles, no, because I'll take Kenny Gainwell right now over him long term. And definitely Miles Sanders. He's balling out. Dallas, no. Washington, Antonio Gibson maybe, but Gibson does a lot of the same things that Hendo does, as I mentioned earlier. And then you look at the Giants. He'd be a good backup to Saquon Barkley. Akers would be a good backup to Saquon Barkley. Now, I'll say the Saints, that is intriguing. I think he's better than Mark Ingram. I know that sounds crazy. I think he's better than Mark Ingram. I would take Cam Akers over Mark Ingram. Alvin Kamara's there. Tony Jones. I think he'd help the Saints. Tampa he'd probably help, but I don't know if you want to trade him to Tampa. That might be a team that you face, But, Tampa, in the playoffs. But Tampa, they got Leonard Fournette, and, they have Rashad White. Maybe he's an option there. I think Miami and Denver probably make the most sense that are realistic. Seattle wouldn't happen. And I don't think he's better than anybody on the Kansas City Chiefs right now. Who else? Let's see. The Falcons with Cordero Patterson out. Okay. All right. I think we hit it. Les needs familiarity trading with the Falcons. Okay. The Falcons have Patterson just get he had like a knee procedure. They have a rookie running back who they like in Algier, and they have another running back who was a cornerback turned running back from Boise State. But Cam Akers in Atlanta, I could see that. And I think the Rams would trade him there. That wouldn't be like, oh, we're done. They already played Atlanta. Panthers make sense if they're trading Christian McCaffrey. Because I think he's clearly better than... I think he's definitely better than Chuba Hubbard. And then who else do we have? The Packers, not trading him there. Even if they needed him, which they don't, not trading him there. The Vikings, Kevin O'Connell, does he really like him? Maybe Madison comes to the Rams. They get Cam Akers. I think that's a fair swap right there. I think Madison to the Rams, Cam Akers to the Vikings is very fair. Then you look at the Lions. And the Lions, it's like, if Swift is serious, if they really are worried about his injuries, could see that. And then the last one there are the Bears. And the Bears, it would have to be for David Montgomery or I wouldn't do the trade. You're not trading intra-division, so no chance. Unless you really think Seattle has no chance of winning that division, you're not going to play them, and you don't think they'll be good the next 2 years or whatever, fine. Trade Cam Akers to Seattle. But, yeah, I do get the vibe he's going to get traded now. I really do get that vibe. I like Madison, too. Should the Rams sign a few offensive linemen, Jake? It depends who. Really depends on who. Like, I'm not just signing offensive linemen to sign offensive linemen. It takes a little bit to acclimate them into the system and the offense. And I'm not just signing guys in bulk. I want to sign quality players. Like, I think Skura and Ibushi are pretty good additions when considering the fact they're mid-season ads. You're pretty much not going to find guys that quality at this point in the season. So you have to keep that in mind. November 1st, I believe. I do. I would start him, but it looks like they're not going to. I think the Rams are going to get Burns. I believe that. I really believe that. I think they're going to get him because I think the Panthers want to keep him. But I think the Rams are going to be willing to offer 2 picks, a second this year and a first next year. And I think the Panthers are going to go, okay, all right, let's do it. That's what I think is going to happen. He's had 20-plus carries twice in his career. He had 2 touchdowns in the other game. That was against the Giants last year. Didn't run super well. The Giants defense did a nice job stacking him up, but he still scored 2 touchdowns. 1 receiving was definitely a help in the receiving game. And then the other one, he went over 100 yards and was, pretty much instrumental in that comeback against the Bills. So, yeah, I know. I saw this. It's weird. Like, I don't know. I don't know what that even means. There is 0 chance that they can trade for Danielle Hunter. And the reason for that is because when you look at what Danielle Hunter does, and you look at the fact that the Vikings are 4-1, like, they're not going to trade a guy like that. I think it's certainly in the cards. And I've said it before, I'll say it again. These running backs are affordable now. This isn't the Todd Gurley era when he got paid, Le'Veon Bell got paid all that money. Like, they can be had for decent money. So there's a lot of running backs next year in that class, and I think Darrell Henderson is going to be a valuable, piece because he's not going to be expensive, really, if you think about it, I'm going to look up the class right now on Spotrac. But DJ Moore doesn't really make any sense, though. I don't think they would trade for a wide receiver. They're going to see if things work out for Allen Robinson. They're getting Van Jefferson back. And at some point, they'll probably get OBJ back. I believe they do. So, yeah, I don't see them trading for a wide receiver. But I'm going to read you the guys that will be a free agent after the season at running back. And you let me know what you think, because I think there are way too many to worry about. So you got Saquon Barkley, Kareem Hunt, Rashad Penny, Jamal Williams, Josh Jacobs, Melvin Gordon, Mark Ingram, Rex Burkhead, Raheem Mostert, Deontay Foreman, Mike Boone, Boston Scott, Samaje Perine, Damian Williams, Ronald Jones, Miles Sanders, Giovanni Bernard, Mike Davis, Jerick McKinnon, Dearness Johnson, Darrell Williams, Matt Breida, Dontrell Hilliard, Amir Abdullah, Latavius Murray, Tevin Coleman, Jeff Wilson, Darrell Henderson, David Montgomery, Devin Singletary, James Robinson, Tony Pollard, Alexander Matt. Do you see what I mean? Darrell Henderson will be able to be had. If the Rams want him back, there are too many running backs out there that are going to be free agents. Spotrac's calculated market value, they have Henderson signing a 1-year deal at $3.9 million. That would put him in the same comparable tier as guys like Rashad Penny, Deontay Foreman, Sony Michel, and Ronald Jones. So that's how they have him. They have Darrell Henderson rated ahead of all of them. So they think Darrell Henderson offers more than Ronald Jones, Sony Michel, Deontay Foreman, and Rashad Penny. He has more value in the receiving game than all of them. He doesn't have a fumble, which neither does Rashad Penny, but all the other ones do. As far as rushing touchdowns a game, it's the same as Ronald Jones. It's higher than Foreman. It's higher than Michel. It's lower than Penny. And rushing yards per game, it is lower than the average, but it's higher than Jones. It's higher than Foreman. It's lower than Sony, and it's lower than Penny. And games played percentage, and this guy gets knocked for never staying healthy. Darrell Henderson has a 81.82 games played percentage, which is 28.57% more than the average at his tier. So, I don't know, man. I don't know. I've heard it's possible, but I don't have any guarantees. I've heard it's possible. I've heard there's definitely interest. Of course the Rams, shocker, the Rams are interested in a 24-year-old pass rusher that's one of the best in the league already and is only getting better every single game. But, I definitely think it can be done. The Rams just have to be able to move their second pick in 2023 and their first overall pick in 2024. But I think it could be done. I really do. I believe that. I think the Rams can lock it down. I can tell you right now, the 49ers fans are begging for this not to be the case. So, we'll see. We will see. Yeah, but Corbett's going to cost you a lot. Corbett just signed a big deal. So it's not as just simple as putting him back on the roster. The Rams really wouldn't be able to afford that. I agree with that. I wouldn't if I was Henderson, but if the Rams want him back, I'm sure with the market the way it is. To be fair to the Rams, I will say this is just how his type of running back is being used now. So, that's just the way it is. I'm not a fan of it, but I just don't think Dearness Johnson is better than what they already have. Like, I would rather have Cam. That is a name to look out for, actually. Bradley Chubb. Bradley Chubb is an interesting one because he's very talented. He's on an expiring deal. The Broncos, they probably thought they were going to be Super Bowl contenders, and now who knows what's going to happen. If they continue to lose, Bradley Chubb could be available at the deadline. I don't know. He should, but it doesn't look like he's going to. And I think that's a smart approach. I love Kyron, but I think that you got to go with Henderson as the number one guy. Then you got to, build up Kyron. But there's no point, in my opinion, of not bringing back Henderson if he's that cheap. He won't be 3.9. I don't buy it. I don't think he's getting 3.9. I'd like to see him get 3.9 for him. I think he's worth it, but I don't think he's going to get it. I think the running back market has really hit, has hit a wall, essentially. Yeah, he's not a good relief pitcher. To be fair, I mean, it's JE Live, so you guys can ask me whatever. I got it on my iPad right here. I'm just not trying to be rude because obviously I'm live. I'm talking to you guys. Yeah, sadly, I don't think, keep in mind, guys, Robert Woods meant so much to this offense. He did so much, and they got nothing for him. They got nothing for him. I don't care about the pick. It was a late pick. I mean, a multi-time 1,000-yard receiver. I don't know. Guy was very clutch with the Rams. The epitome of a leader, and they got nothing for him. Would not be surprised if they get nothing for Cam Akers. What's up, Holden? Dear God. At least they finally got it out. I was too. Maybe I should stick to my gut because my gut was telling me that they shouldn't have traded Robert Woods. Yeah, right. Walls. It's hard to say. I'd have to do some research on running backs. Well, who's a running back trade? Leonard Fournette, right? Nope, he was traded by he was released by the Jaguars. All right. Like who running back trades NFL? I see like man. we're going to learn together today. That's what we're going to do. Anytime we don't know the answer, we look it up. We don't make up BS. Historical look at the NFL trade deadline. The Rams drafted Logan Bruss and signed 3 free agents on the offensive line. I mean, they did their due diligence. It just backfired. Guys got hurt. Completely out of their control. Oh, God, no. He does not fit the offense at all. Thank you so much for donating, DC. I appreciate that. And let's see here. Yeah, it happens. I don't know if that's a Fox Sports 1 thing, but Jason McIntyre on the Herd called me a random guy. So, I mean, like I said, I'll stay humble. I'll continue to work hard. Peter Schrager noticed. He literally said my name, gave my YouTube and podcast a shout out. So, we're growing, folks. But in order to keep growing, be sure to hit the thumbs up button and be sure to subscribe if you haven't already. I do content like this all the time. Okay. So last year's trade deadline. I got the 2021 trade deadline. Are you ready for this? This is how it went down. So October 5th, the Dolphins traded wide receiver and return man Jakeem Grant to the Bears for a 2023 6th-round pick. Okay, that's a wide receiver, whatever. Stephon Gilmore was traded from the Patriots to the Panthers for a 2023 6th-round pick. October 15th, the Cardinals acquired tight end Zach Ertz from the Eagles in exchange for quarterback Tay Gowan and a 2022 5th-round pick. On October 23, the Broncos acquired defensive end Stephen Weatherly and a 2023 7th-round pick from the Vikings for a 2022 7th-round pick. The Rams, on October 25th, traded Kenny Young and a 2024 7th-rounder to the Broncos for a 2024 6th-round pick, which sounds absolutely stupid, but I get it with the money, whatever. October 25th, the Jets acquired Joe Flacco from the Eagles for a conditional 6th-round pick. October 27th, the Texans trade running back Mark Ingram. So a running back was traded. The Texans traded Mark Ingram to the Saints for an undisclosed late-round draft pick compensation. So there's a running back. On November 1st, the Broncos trade outside linebacker Von Miller to the Rams for a 2022 2nd-round pick and 2022 3rd-round pick. On November 2nd, the Chiefs acquired Melvin Ingram from the Steelers in exchange for a 2022 6th-round pick. On November 2nd as well, the 49ers acquired 2019 5th-round pick Charles Omenihu from the Texans in exchange for a 2023 6th-rounder. The Chiefs also traded guard Laurent Duvernay Tardif to the Jets for tight end Dan Brown. And on November 2nd as well, the Broncos traded cornerback Kerry Vincent Jr. to the Eagles for a 2022 6th-rounder. So those are the deals that were made in 2021. Mark Ingram's an older back, so we have a running back comparison, but he's not Cam Akers. He's not younger, so you have that. Okay, we move on. 2020 deadline. You ready? So we had, let's see here. We had New York Jets trade linebacker Avery Williamson to the Steelers. The Steelers sent a 2022 fifth rounder to the Jets. Was there any sort of running back that was traded? Dolphins are acquiring DeAndre Washington from Kansas City Chiefs in exchange for draft pick compensation. That doesn't really explain anything. It was a 2021 7th-round pick going to Miami. So, again, like, he would get more. Cam Akers would get more in return than DeAndre Washington would give you. So, we do know that. Right? Let's see 2019. There have been two. So, there's been a running back trade in every single trade deadline the last 2 years. I don't see anything on this, so I don't know what you're talking about. Yeah, I'm looking. I don't see anything. Yeah, the trade that. Okay, I got you. Yeah, I was confused by that. Okay. So then 2019 rolls along. And let's see. Rams acquire Austin Corbett on October 15th. The Browns traded him to the Rams in exchange for a 2021 5th-round pick. So that was 2 years later. The Rams then traded cornerback Marcus Peters to the Ravens in exchange for linebacker Kenny Young and a 2020 5th-round pick on October 16th. And then October 16th, the Jaguars traded Jalen Ramsey to the Rams in exchange for a 2020 first-round pick, a 2021 first-round pick, and a 2021 4th-round pick. There's the running back. So the Dolphins traded running back Kenyon Drake to the Cardinals for a 2020 5th-round pick. I mean, I'm thinking Akers is going to net you probably a 5th-rounder because of the youth there. Like, he is younger, so there is that. Now let's look at 2018 trade deadline. Let's see what we got. So 2018, that was the year the Rams got Dante Fowler for a 3rd-round pick in 2019 and a 5th-rounder in 2020. The Packers trade Ty Montgomery for a 2020 7th-round pick. Carlos Hyde got picked up for a 5th-rounder. So Hyde, there's always been a running back picked up at the deadline. It seems that way. Let's look at 2017. Trying to see if anything matches up. Dolphins trade running back Jay Ajayi to the Eagles for a 4th-round pick. That sounds about right. So honestly, going back to 2017, that's how it feels. Like, it feels like they could get probably a 4th or a 5th for Cam Akers. I don't really see. He's not going to have much more value than that. That's my opinion. I don't think he's going to have much more value than that. I'll check 2016 out, but I think the Jay Ajayi trade, that's the most that anybody has given up for a running back since 2017 at the trade deadline. Niall Davis acquired by running back needy Packers. Oh, that's right. He was released afterwards. That was funny. So there's literally been a running back traded at the deadline every single year going back to 2016. Checking out 2015 right now. Eli Apple, Vernon Davis, Marcel Darius, Dante Fowler. Wait, that's not It's not 2015. Oh, best trade since 2015. Okay, let's see what we got here. So the Rams tried to trade Jared Cook, I'm seeing here. But that's not a trade that actually happened. Okay. So we got, let's see. At the deadline, the Rams traded Chris Givens. So Kristen Michael, and that was not at the deadline. So there has been a running back traded at the deadline every single year going back to 2016. 2015, there was not a running back trade at the trade deadline. But that's very interesting. Yep. That is very interesting. So, yeah. Yeah. Rapp would probably net you a 6th or 7th round pick. Like I don't think Rapp would do much. Okay, I'll do that. Let's see, Greg Beecham. Daryl Henderson says he doesn't know exactly what's going on with Cam Akers, but he says Akers is doing fine. When asked if he thought Cam would be back with the Rams this season, Henderson said, yeah. Fun fact, so the way this works, Cam Akers is the highest draft pick in 5 years for the Rams. And he only played 19 regular season games. I like Brock, don't get me wrong. I don't see how that helps at all. Yeah, you got Henderson, you got Malcolm Brown, you got Ronnie Rivers. Okay, they're good. Ronnie Rivers will be the backup. They'll elevate him from the practice squad. They're good. They really do. I mean, it's the greatest stuff on earth, and I'm not just saying that because that's their tagline. Oh, and there's always a Snapple cap fact, which I'm going to read to you because this is a very unconventional show, as you know. A compass needle does not point directly north. See? You learn something every day. You definitely learn something new here on JE Live all the time. I got another bottle here. I actually have another one because I just haven't thrown them away, I guess. Here's another Snapple cap fact. Brain waves can power an electric train. Now you know. And let's try the other one. The Statue of Liberty wears a size 879 sandal. So there you go. Just in case you didn't know all that, now you do. Yeah, but you can't like just acquire O-line. Like there's more to it than that. Sadly, that's it. They will if they keep losing. I can tell you that right now. And they're not bringing him back, so. I think he will be. I think he could be traded. We'll see. We'll see. They both lost, so we'll see. Oh, the bye week is 100% needed, man. Like 100%. They needed it so bad. I'm glad it's here. I need it too. I'll hold off on it. I had an announcement and I just was like, we'll hold off on it. You'll have to tune in next week. I swear to God. Yeah, I don't really drink sparkling ice anymore. Interesting. I think it's doable. I don't think Gallup was paid a ton. I get what OBJ is saying. Now, here's the thing. I also get the Rams' perspective as well, because they're also trying to win now, and Dallas is trying to build from the inside out. If you look, Dallas prioritized the guy that they drafted in Michael Gallup over Amari Cooper, who they traded for. I thought that was interesting. Dallas, if you didn't know, as much crap as I might give them for not winning a divisional round playoff game since 1995. To be fair, they're trying to do it the right way. They're trying to go all homegrown. I mean, if you look, they have the most homegrown talent for any roster in the NFL. I think they deserve credit for that. I respect them for that. I do. So that's what I'll say about that. Gallup was like $12 million a year, but it was like over 4 years, I think. I get it. Here's the thing, OBJ sees this as home. He wants to remain here. So I totally understand him wanting a long-term deal to be in LA. 5 years. Gallup's also younger, though. That's another thing. Keep that in mind. That comes into play here because Michael Gallup is 26 years old. So you're signing a guy for 5 years, and he's playing until he's 31. So he's still at the tail end of his prime. OBJ offering him a 5-year deal. I don't think it's the same type of deal. I don't think he wanted the exact deal. I think he wanted something similar, maybe like a 3-year. But OBJ, now you're paying until he's 34. That's a little different. I saw that. I mean, I don't think he's wrong for wanting that. I think that's fair. If Odell didn't get hurt, he could have asked for $17 million and he would have been justified. Oh, exactly. Yeah, I mean, if you want my honest thoughts, here's the thing, okay? If OBJ didn't get hurt, he'd be back with the Rams already, and it would have been for the money that Vaughn would have gotten. So they never would have gotten A-Rob. It would be OBJ because he would have cost them like $15 million. That's what would have happened. I think, it's weird. It might come down to, and we're going to see, this team is going to be tested. We are going to find out what this team really is, but it might just come down to the two biggest decisions of the year the most crucial and dangerous, it might just come down to the fact that they chose Liam Cohen as their OC and not Thomas Brown. And it might come down to the fact that they decided to sign Allen Robinson and not use that money on a pass rusher. There's a chance that's the deal. There's a chance that that is what ultimately is going to be the reason that they don't repeat, if they don't repeat. But like I said, it's not over. The season's not over. A-Rob is not bad. What I can't stand to hear is that it's constantly A-Rob doesn't create. A-Rob never created separation. That's not his game. And if you don't believe me, that even still, like, it's not even that bad, then wait until I show you these stats, or I read these to you, because this is telling. Okay. So average separation. You ready for this? So Allen Robinson, average separation. Allen Robinson has a higher average separation than Tyler Boyd, Travis Kelce, Darren Waller, Alan Lazard, Terry McLaurin, George Kittle, Donovan Peoples-Jones, Mac Hollins, Nico Collins, Dalton Schultz, AJ Green, Alec Pierce, DK Metcalf, Mike Evans, Kyle Pitts, Devontae Parker, Michael Thomas, DJ Chark. I mean, I don't think the separation is the issue. Okay? For whatever reason, they're not on the same page, him and Stafford. I don't think Stafford's the issue. I don't think Robinson's the issue. I think a lot of it comes down to getting the offensive line the right way. And I think the offensive line is being magnified. It's being, really thrown under the bus more because they don't have a run game. And the reason they don't have a run game is because they haven't been running it with Darrell Henderson. They've been running with Cam Akers. They've been getting negative yards on first down. All of a sudden, the first down becomes a 2nd and 12. That kills drives. So now we're going to see this week. If they play Henderson, we're going to see what I've been telling you guys and what most of you guys that believe me know what you're looking at. Okay? I really believe this. As long as Henderson gets a good dose of the offense, he gets 15 to 20 touches, the Rams will win this game. I won't worry about the Rams losing this game. And Darrell Henderson will go for over 100 total all-purpose yards, and on top of that, they'll have a run game that's actually established that will open up the offense to throw the ball, and Allen Robinson will have the best game of the season. And people will be like, oh my God, where did this come from? I thought our offensive line was terrible. And I'm telling you right now, if Darrell Henderson goes off in this game, it'll open up everything. It will open up everything. That will be a real thing going into this game. If Darrell Henderson goes off, it will really open up the rest of the offense. You can run play action at will. James, I got to ask you, what is not that good? Like, are you comparing him to like Eric Dickerson? Because I don't think he's on that level. But if you're comparing him to like Alexander Madison, I would probably say he's better than Madison. If you're comparing him to Mike Boone, he's definitely better than Mike Boone. If you're comparing him to Saquon Barkley, I'll take Barkley. But I don't really know what like not that good means. Like it has to, well, he's not, because they don't use him as such. But actually, in reality, he is, James. He is. He's playing way more snaps than Cam Akers. I can show you the numbers, or I can read you the numbers. I mean, it's like way more. Here. So Cam Akers has played, and keep in mind, he's the starter technically. He starts the games, he's announced, he runs out with he's the starter, right? So the snaps Darrell Henderson has played is 195 to Cam Akers 111. So that's 195 snaps. Let me get my calculator here. That's 39 snaps a game. Darrell Henderson's playing 39 snaps a game. That's pretty darn good. Like, he's got to be used in pass protection more. He's only played 24 pass protection snaps. He has the highest snaps played for a running back in pass pro without allowing a pressure. That should get you excited. That should make you want to go out and get a 27 jersey. Because I'll tell you right now, if they use him the right way, it's going to be exciting. James, that's what I'm saying, though. That's what I'm saying. I'm saying they need to run the ball with him. That's what I'm saying. They need to run the ball with Henderson. Darrell Henderson is 8th according to DVOA out of all running backs. And there are people that want to trash this guy. I don't understand what the hate is with Darrell Henderson. The Rams draft him. He's a homegrown Ram. They draft him in the 3rd round. They traded with the New England Patriots to go up and get him. And then it's like Cam Akers got drafted the next year, and everyone looked at the real new attractive piece, and they forgot what they already had. And that's fine, but you can't just say that Henderson is just garbage. I mean, it's not even like a debate. I read earlier the Spotrac. Spotrac says that Henderson literally plays 25% more games than the average running back in the NFL. And he's considered injury prone. He's considered a guy that's always hurt, and yet he's almost started 50 games at this point. It's just there's a lot of, there's a lot of misinterpretations and all that. But, I mean, the numbers are there. Snap share, he has the 14th most highest percentage of all running backs in snaps. He's averaging 61.5% of the snap share, which is 14th in all running backs in the league. 14th. And this guy didn't even get a carry last week, who, by the way, is averaging 4.1 on the year behind what you're saying is a horrible offensive line. So if a guy's averaging 4.1 yards per carry behind a terrible offensive line, how is that guy bad? But then the other guy that wasn't averaging even 3 yards per carry is good. I don't know. If our O-line was like last year telling me you're taking Henderson, absolutely. If Henderson got an opportunity to actually get carries in that, all right. I got to explain because I think it's lost because it's almost like kind of poisonous. There's narratives out there that say this guy isn't good. I'm not saying he's the greatest thing since sliced bread, but the reason I'm passionate about it is because I believe in what's right. If Henderson wasn't good and I just liked him, I would be honest with you. I just like the guy. I've had guys like that, right? Sasha Vujacic with the Lakers. Did I think Sasha Vujacic with the Lakers was fantastic? No. But he's clutch. He made some huge shots, and I liked him. I didn't sit here and say he's better than Kobe. But Henderson's legit. He's not a superstar, but he's a good running back and would be a 1,000-yard rusher if they actually gave him the carries. So this is what I'm going to say, okay? We'll look right now. I'm going to look at the game logs for last year. The biggest argument against Darrell Henderson is that he can't run for 100 yards. First game of the year, he goes for 16 carries for 70 yards and a touchdown. Okay? So he scores 6 points for the Rams. He gets a touchdown. He catches a pass for 17 yards, right? And that's 4.3 yards per carry against a good Bears front. So then Indianapolis comes along, and he's 13 for 53 against another good run defense. He's averaging 4 yards per carry, gets in the end zone, adds 3 catches for 29 yards, 6 points. Tampa, he got hurt in the Colts game, so he doesn't play Tampa. Arizona, he runs 14 times for 89 yards. That's 6.3 yards per carry. But everyone's favorite running back, Sony Michel, fumbles at their own 20-yard line when they're down 14-0. And the Cardinals have a short field and make it 21-0, takes the run game completely out of it. And now Darrell Henderson, who's sitting at 14 carries for 89 yards, doesn't run the ball because they're down 21-0. So there you go. That's why he didn't get 100 yards in that game. Because he's averaging 6.3, but they couldn't run the ball because Sony Michel fumbles and the Cardinals turn around and score. It's 21-0 game. Now you have to pass because you're down. Okay, let's move on to the next game against Seattle. Oh, by the way, in that game, he had 5 catches for 27 yards as well, so technically he did go over 100 total yards, but whatever. The next game, Seattle, primetime, 17 carries, 82 yards. That's 4.8 yards per carry. That is good. A touchdown. Reception for 17. They only gave him 17. He had 82 yards. Had a chance at 100, but they didn't give him more. Okay, then he gets 21 carries against the Giants. Good defense up front. And in a blowout, they take out the starters. He runs 21 times for 78 yards. Not his best game, but he had a touchdown rushing. And then he took 2 receptions, 29 yards, and so he had 2 touchdowns in that game. Then you look at Detroit. Detroit, they just shut him down. 15 carries, 45 yards. He had 3 catches for 19. He only averaged 3 yards per carry in that. Okay, let's go on to the next game. Houston. 14 carries, 90 yards, averaging 6.4, had a touchdown, okay? Then had a receiving touchdown, so he had 2 touchdowns in that game against Houston. He has 90 yards at the half, and then they sit him the whole game. So another reason why he didn't get 100 yards. Okay, so let's go on. Tennessee, 11 carries, 55 yards, and that's it. They didn't give him more. So he was averaging 5 yards per carry. He averaged 6.4 the week before when they sat him, so he didn't have a chance to go over 100, but he was at 90. And then Tennessee, he's averaging 5, and they abandoned the run, and they lost the game. Then against San Francisco, abandoned the run because, once again, San Francisco got off to a quick lead. Henderson took 5 carries for 31 yards. That's 6.2 yards per carry. Green Bay, he struggled. Tough environment. Kenny Clark up front. He struggled 16, 55. He had a touchdown, but he had 3.4 yards per carry. And everyone's calling for his head. They're calling for Sony Michel. He's bad, whatever. Then he doesn't play against Jacksonville and Arizona because he's hurt. Then he comes back and he tries to play against Seattle, hurt. 6 carries, 23 yards. Doesn't get more because Sony Michel had taken over. He gets 1 carry against Minnesota for 17 yards, and they had already benched him for Sony Michel. Baltimore, he doesn't play. And San Francisco, he doesn't play. He doesn't play at all in the playoffs until the Super Bowl, and then he comes through with a huge game, 3 catches for 43 yards when they needed to have it. He came through in a system, in a situational way. He didn't blow it up on the stat sheet, but those 43 yards, you had to read it. So, I don't know. I think at this point, this guy's just he's not getting enough credit. And I'm going to continue to fight for him until he does get his credit. So, maybe I'm wrong. Maybe he'll prove me wrong, whatever. But, I don't know. I mean, the consistency has been there. And, he had some games in 2020 Against Buffalo, he averaged 5.7 yards per carry, 20 carries, 114 yards. I mean, he had 20 carries. He ran for 114. He had a touchdown. Philly, how about Philly, week 2? 12 carries, 81 yards, a touchdown. They didn't even use him against Dallas. They used Malcolm Brown was the starter. Giants in Washington, not great, but he found the end zone in Washington. San Francisco, 14 carries, 88 yards, 6.2 average, and they lose that game 24-16. Gee, makes you wonder why they didn't just keep running with Henderson when the 49ers had no answer in 2020. He ran 6.2 yards per carry. I don't know, I see these 8, like against Miami, 8 runs for 47 yards. It's 5.8 yards per carry. They didn't run it with him more. I don't know. Against Arizona, 3 carries for 49 yards. That's 16.3 yards per carry and a touchdown. Didn't run it because that was the game where Cam Akers had him benched. He ran twice in the game against New England. Cam Akers ran for 171 yards. Only had 1 carry against the Jets. And then Seattle, he had 12 carries for 62 yards, which, by the way, is a 5.1 yards per carry average, but they lose that 20-9, and they didn't. So the usage of him has been bizarre. I don't really understand it. They traded up to get him for a reason. But I don't know. I mean, I understood it when you had Todd Gurley. But, I mean, he's always run well against San Francisco. It doesn't matter who's on San Francisco. 6.5 yards per carry in 2019 against San Francisco when they lost 20-7. You know? He got 11 carries against Cincinnati, 49 yards, 4.4 yards per carry. He didn't really get a huge opportunity in his rookie year because Gurley. But what was the deal? Malcolm Brown was playing ahead of him in 2020 at times. Cam Akers was. Then 2021, Sony Michel. Guys, he's the best running back the Rams have had since Gurley. It's not even an argument. He's just not flashy. He's a contact hitter. He's not a power hitter. So, that's why if anybody's worried about him, if anyone's worried Akers is out, we're doomed. Quite the opposite. I think there's a chance that he ends up really coming out and balling out. Another thing I'll say, because you're right, dude averaged 4.7 last year with an elite offensive line. He's not a bad running back, but he's not an elite running back. Neither Akers or Henderson. See, I disagree with that. Because I agree with what you're saying, the premise of it, is that dude averaged 4.7 last year with an elite offensive line, right? I get what you're saying. But let's look at the NFL rushing leaders for 2021, okay? So 2021, let's see. Well, that's not going to tell me the yards per carry. Let's see here. Okay. So, this is 2022. Okay, here's who's ahead of Darrell Henderson. Ready for this? Guys that are actually ahead. Guys that have actually had carries. Rashad Penny, 6.3. Josh Allen, Lamar Jackson, Jalen Hurts, Tony Pollard, Nick Chubb, Miles Sanders, Jonathan Taylor, Chase Edmonds, James Robinson, Aaron Jones, and then that's it. Darrell Henderson had the same yards per carry average as Dalvin Cook. Oh, no, he had the same yards per carry average as Robinson, Aaron Jones, Dalvin Cook, Elijah Mitchell, Devin Singletary. had a higher yards per carry average than Damian Harris, Ramondre Stevenson, Melvin Gordon, Leonard Fournette, Christian McCaffrey, Javonte Williams, Austin Eckler, J.D. McKissick, Michael Carter, Clyde Edwards-Helaire, Devontae Freeman, Chris Carson, A.J. Dillon, Derrick Henry, Ezekiel Elliott, Joe Mixon, DeAndre Swift, Sony Michel, Cordell Patterson, Antonio Gibson, Josh Jacobs, Kenyon Drake, Najee Harris, Jamal Williams, Alvin Kamara. Look, I get it. He's not elite, but, you know, we've gotten to the point where, like, we're not even appreciating 4.7 yards per carry. I mean, Gurley was averaging like 3.3, I believe, in 2019. I could be wrong. It could be like 3.8. I'm going to look that up. It was 2019, 3.8. Okay. So he's averaging 3.8 in 2019. So since 2019, the Rams, okay, they're rushing. They had Todd Gurley as their leading rusher at 3.8. Malcolm Brown was averaging 3.7, and Darrell Henderson was averaging 3.8. So Darrell Henderson was actually averaging more yards per carry than Malcolm Brown, and the same as Todd Gurley. Okay, we move on to 2020. And 2020, we have Cam Akers averaging 4.3. He was the leading rusher by 1 yard. Darrell Henderson averaging 4.5. By the way, that also means that he got more opportunities than Henderson. But Henderson was averaging more yards per carry than Cam Akers. And oh, by the way, Malcolm Brown was averaging 4.1. With the same offensive line, Darrell Henderson 4.5, Cam Akers 4.3, Malcolm Brown 4.1. That means that Darrell Henderson was averaging the best yards per carry average since Todd Gurley. Okay, so now we look to 2021. And you look here, and they have the same offensive line, but one had way more opportunities. Sony Michel averaging 4.1, Darrell Henderson averaging 4.6. Okay, now 2022. Oh, what's that? Darrell Henderson 4.1 and Cam Akers is averaging 3. So Darrell Henderson gets all this shit, but since 2019, he's been either tied for the most yards per carry, or he's been the number one by far running back efficiently. And you could say yards per carry isn't everything, but when I'm telling you he leads in DVOA and all this, it's like, okay, it's not everything, but it's a lot of things, right? Just like money can't buy everything. Money can't buy happiness, but it can buy a lot of things, right? So, look, I'm not saying he's a superstar. I'm not saying he's a Hall of Famer. I'm not saying any of that. But don't be surprised if the Rams just let Darrell Henderson roll. This offense is going to follow. If he plays at that level, and who knows, man, because this is another thing I'll say, okay? This is another thing I'll say. Darrell Henderson's carries are sporadic. He can't get into a rhythm. So that's impressive for him to have a 4.6, 4.7 yards per carry average, 4.1 this year. Dude can never get into a rhythm because they're like, oh, we're going to give him carries and then all that. Like, you know what I mean? They don't stick to him. They don't stick with him. I don't even know. What are the most carries that he's had in a drive? I feel like he's lucky if he gets 2 carries in a drive. So that's my thoughts, is that if you want to change this offense and you're going to roll out the same offensive line, I mean, I don't think you're going to change that, but the run game could certainly help. And it starts with that. So I think Henderson is going to surprise people. I think Henderson is going to surprise people because I think Henderson has always been capable, and I think people have always knocked on him when I already pointed out in the in Spotrac, Henderson compared to the statistical comparison, comparing all our variables according to Spotrac, comparing all variables over the last 2 seasons, analyzing games played percentage, rushing yards, rushing touchdowns, fumbles, receptions ratings. Spotrac has put Darrell Henderson on the same tier as Rashad Penny, Deontay Foreman, Sony Michel, and Ronald Jones. And he has played 28.5% more games than the average running back in the NFL. Okay? The only one of the names that I just listed Ronald Jones has played more games than Darrell Henderson. So I think this guy is underrated, and I think he's going to surprise people that just simply haven't been paying attention. I really believe that. And here's the thing. If he doesn't blow up, it's also, like, it can't be both ways either. Because if he doesn't blow up, and I'm not saying he's going to run for 180 or anything like that, but if he maintains the 4.1 yards per carry average behind this offensive line, that's good enough, man. That's good enough to make a defense respect the run game. When you're averaging not even 3, like Cam Akers was doing, no defense is going to respect your run game. Therefore, you can't even use play action. You can use play action, but you're wasting your time because now, Matthew Stafford's eyes are down faking the handoff and aren't upfield. And then you run out of time because now it's that much more the offense has to protect you. Very interesting stuff. But if you weren't here earlier, basically, I'm not happy. I know people are like, oh, Jake's so happy. I'm happy Henderson gets a shot, okay? Because he's been the most consistent. He's the best pass protector, which means he does the little things behind the scenes that people don't talk about. He puts in the work. You don't just get born and you're a great pass protector as a running back. You have to earn that. You have to really work at that. And the way he frames, the way he mirrors, it's like a mini offensive lineman. That's some really good footwork that he has, and it's some of the best in the league. It's why no one has had as many pass protection reps without not giving up pressure. Like, I don't know what the deal is and why Henderson is such a pick by people, but now he's got to prove me right. He's got to prove all you believers out there right. And he's going to prove all the haters out there wrong, because I think he's going to get an opportunity. I don't think Sean McVay is going to play Malcolm Brown over Hendo. I think Sean McVay will use Malcolm Brown to spell Hendo in certain areas, but Henderson is going to be the starter, and that's the way it should be. As long as he stays healthy, he can run. He could go for 1,000 yards this year. Like, he can go for 1,000 yards this year if he stays healthy and they actually commit to him. We went through the game logs. I don't know. It is funny, though, when you think about it, the way you can say it, if Hendo, I don't think people realize Darrell Henderson has the best yards per carry, which means he is the most efficient running back on the roster since 2019. He was tied with Todd Gurley in 2019. So, yeah, right? My God, do we ever. Why are we trading Tyler Higbee, man? Why do you want to trade Tyler Higbee? What the hell? You do realize Tyler Higbee is second on the team in receiving. He's second in targets. You don't trade a guy like that. Higbee, I mean, it's silly. Come on. Higbee's on pace for 986 yards. That would be by far the greatest season for a Rams tight end ever. He's on pace for 112 receptions for 986 yards. He has a chance for 1,000 yards. And he has a chance for over 100 receptions. And you want to trade him? Oh, man. That's so funny. Boofy, thank you so much for donating. I'm sorry I missed that. And thank you for reminding me. I don't think it's getting to him yet, but I think it could. And I agree with you. You got to get him some help. Sorry, A-Dog. I just saw this. Let me see. I can get that for you. Cam Akers' last 100-yard game. I thought I could get it to you. Site just completely went off. I had a comment the other day. The guy's like, I think it's kind of unprofessional how you look things up midstream. And I'm like, I mean, it's kind of unprofessional for me to wear a hat backwards on stream. It's unprofessional for me to have a Spider-Man, mask and Michael Myers mask and a Rams helmet and a world champ. But I don't care. I think it's professional based on the fact that my camera looks so good and my sound quality is good. Although we're working on getting that studio sounding sound quality. Okay? We are working on that. Because, as you know, my pre-recorded shows, my pre-recorded videos sound way, they sound way better than my lives. Because my lives, I can't, I use presets. But, I'm going to try and get those presets in, and I can't wait. It's going to sound smooth as butter. But anyway, A-Dog asked about Cam Akers last time he had 100 yards. This isn't a knock on him. I'm just answering the question. So I'm actually curious myself. It's got to be 2020. I don't know why, but Pro Football Reference is really having a hard time doing what I want it to do. Let's see here. We got... So the last time Akers had 100 yards in the playoffs, he had it against Seattle in 2020. If we're not counting the playoffs, then the last time was, in fact, New England. He's actually only had 100 yards twice in his career. Believe it or not, he's only had over 100 yards twice in his career. Once against Seattle and once against New England. And the end of 2020 is somewhat overrated here. Because when you really look at it, against Arizona, when he took over the reins as the starting running back, he had 21 carries for 72 yards and a touchdown, so he had 3.4 yards per carry. Then he had the New England game that was completely insane, 29 carries for 171 yards, 5.9. Then he had the Jets game, 15 carries for 63 yards, 4.2 average, but nothing crazy. Then he had the Cardinals game at the end of the year with John Wolford because he was hurt for the Seattle game. So the John Wolford game, he takes 21 carries for 34 yards. That's a 1.6 yards per carry average. He did have 4 receptions for 52 yards. I will give him credit, but he fumbled at the goal line. And then, the final week of 2021, he had 5 carries for 3 yards. So, he was already hurt. But, looking at it, 2022, 2.9. He had the 5 yards per carry game against Arizona, 12 for 61 and a touchdown. 8 for 13, so that's 1.6 against the Niners. He had 3 for 0 against Buffalo. 15 for 44 against Atlanta, that's 2.9. And then against Dallas, 13 for 33, that's 2.5. And then the playoffs, the 2020 season, he had a really good game against Seattle, 28 for 131, 4.6 yards per carry, a touchdown, 2 catches for 45 yards. And then against Green Bay, 18 carries for 90 yards, which is 5 yards per carry and a touchdown. And then he got hurt. But, I'll be honest with you. Akers has 2 over 100-yard games, and one of them was week 14 against the New England Patriots, which he never did anything like that the rest of the year in the regular season. And then one was, he had a good 2 games, really good 2 games in the postseason. So, in reality, he might be the flashier name, but Henderson's been consistent and has gotten crap. And if he was doing anything like this, if he was averaging 1.6 yards per carry ever, people would be done with him. And they already are done with him. And the guy's averaging 4.1. So, hopefully we get full Henderson. Yeah. That's all I can really say about that. Oh, it's hard to leave you guys. 264. Can we please before I go? Can we get everybody to do the thumbs up? Not like in your, phone or camera or whatever, but hit the thumbs up. Be sure to subscribe as well if you haven't already. We got 116 likes. Let's see if we can get that to 200 before I leave. 300's out of the question because we don't have 300 people in here anymore. But please do me a favor and drop a like. It really does help out the channel. Also, be sure to subscribe. Mike, see, this is, I love this. Thank you. That really helps. I do that too. Like, I watched a Game of Thrones video the other day. I completely forgot. And forgot to leave a thumbs up, and I was thinking about it throughout the day, and I was like, did I? And then I went back later on, and I hit it. I'm the same way. You got to. It supports the creator that you watch. So, I hate to beg for them, obviously, but it's so important to the YouTube algorithm that you get thumbs ups. Or likes, whatever you want to call them. I call it thumbs up. I say like. You know how it is. I mean, it's this thing right here. I don't know why it zooms me out, but fun fact, I'm seeing Halloween Ends in less than an hour. So I do have to go. That also means, in case you haven't been following, there's always big news that breaks when I'm at the freaking movie theater. So I'm almost guaranteeing that Akers is going to get traded. Akers will probably get traded when I'm in the movie theater. Maybe not, but I don't know. With my luck, he will. Guys, 260 people in here. We have 143 likes. Let's get that to 200. All you have to do is just hit the thumbs up button on YouTube. If you're in the if you're looking at the live comment feed, just basically you get out of the live comment feed, you can see the thumbs up. They really got to do a better job of making the thumbs up more. Like the more obvious to hit. Be able to hit it inside of the live chat. You can't do that for some reason. But yeah, let's keep it up. 148. Let's get up. 149. There we go. He is good. Mixon and Ramondre for Brees and D-Hop. My team has CMC, Waddle, Lamb. I mean, are you trading? So you're trading Mixon and Ramondre for... I don't want DeAndre Hopkins if I were you. But I do want Brees Hall. Yeah, I wouldn't trade for DeAndre Hopkins, but well, he is coming back soon, so I guess okay, I could see that. I don't hate it. I don't hate it. Facts. It's exactly what was happening. Painful to watch. All right. Well, that is that. So, I appreciate you guys. I will have a Believe in Rams podcast coming out. Alexis and I are going to try to record DTR. I had such a crazy week with the birthday, with going to the Yankee game, going to see Demi Lovato last night, that show with my sister. We went to Boston, so I just drove 7 hours yesterday, so I'm kind of beat. Sorry if I sounded kind of out of it on the stream, but I definitely am out of it. So yeah, appreciate you guys watching. There'll be more content, and I'm thinking about doing I don't know. I'll probably do some trade stuff. Maybe make a trade video, my thoughts on trading for certain players, edge and whatnot. But you know, that would be fun. I'd like it. This is a Devil's hat. This is not a Niners hat. Everyone keeps asking. It's not Niners. Shame on you. That would be interesting, because if I could kill two birds with one stone, I'd consider that if I could afford it. If I can afford it, killing two birds with one stone, seeing the Yankees and Dodgers in the World Series, and seeing a Rams game at SoFi, which I haven't seen yet, that would be pretty awesome. So, yeah. Thanks, folks. Be sure to like and subscribe if you haven't already. I'm out of here, and I'll see you guys soon. Take care, and go Rams.